fundamental thing about a motorcycle is that we want to ride it. And the fundamental problem with EVs today is when the ride gets over because your battery ran out, charging takes a while. Charging infrastructure will definitely take even longer because we see petrol pumps every day and we assume that that's normal. But it's taken us 100 and something years to get to a place where there's a petrol pump everywhere. And I'm sure that we'll both be skeletons in our graves, I think. But at that point of time, there were charging stations everywhere too.
Okay, on that note, do you know when the first petrol station was set up in India?
No, but I can tell you when the last petrol pump will close on Earth.
Okay, hit me with that one first.
Not anytime soon.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's absolutely true, I think. But the first petrol station in India was set up in Kolkata in 1929.
Right.
And it wasn't even like an official presence. We're going to link to the article where we saw that, right? And it's really cool to read about it because it's still operating 93 years later.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool about it. It's a family-run petrol pump. So pretty cool that way. The point is, petrol pumps have been...
So is it part of the UNESCO Heritage Program something?
Should be, yeah. I mean, if not, not UNESCO. But actually, they treat it that way. The family that runs it actually treats it that way. They say this is part of the history, right? So they have persevered to have the petrol pump stay where it is, as is, because they say this is part of history. So it's pretty cool.
So your neighborhood charging station, you may want to have a lot more respect for it than you do because 93 years from now, two old fogies will be sitting across the table and saying, remember the first charging station? Can we move on?
Yeah. So the point is we've had about 100 years to populate petrol stations across the country, right? And as a kid, I remember we used to be driving across Maharashtra, right, for summer vacations from Kaboli to Nagpur.
That's his family, not him.
Yeah, I mean, back then I couldn't drive. But it used to be, you had to plan for where would you get the petrol, right? It was a thing you had to factor in, right? Because there were petrol pumps, but it's not like they were littered around the place where you were like, no worries, I can get to reserve and then fuel up, right? You would, as likely as not, carry a jerry can with you just in case.
Sure.
Which is not the case today.
No, today I want to carry batteries around.
Yeah.
They're just too heavy.
But, no, we're not carrying batteries around.
No? Okay,
they're far too expensive.
Let's move on. The core point of this is motorcycles as they exist as electric vehicles today, they don't work. They don't give you the flexibility that is core to the sport of motorcycling. You get the risk, and I love it. You will fall off an electric motorcycle and hurt yourself just as much as you would falling off a petrol, and it's fine. Many of them corner just as well or better than electric petrol vehicles today. And yes, that's how it's supposed to be. But if I can't leave town at the drop of a hat and go for a ride whenever I feel like to wherever I feel like, it's not a motorcycle yet. It's a scooter without storage.
Because it's about freedom.
It is.
Absolutely.
Right? Cars are a different thing.
And
I think today, if you already have an ICE powered car in your garage, you're definitely ready to have an EV in your life, a secondary vehicle. Scooter or car is not important. But if you have a way to get around without the restrictions of range, today's car EVs work.
Yeah. I don't think you have the concerns of longevity and reliability aspects as we've seen in the mass market for scooters in India. We have Tata, now we have Mahindra, who's thrown their hat into the ring as well with the XUV300, which is coming soon. Yeah. And you can be pretty sure that they will be, the XUV will be a solid offering as well, right? Because they have a lot of experience that they've already got from having had Reva. And Tata, in that sense...
but didn't Mahindra miss the boat a little bit? I mean, they had EV technology years ago, but they weren't the first to the market with an EV.
Yeah, it's a fair question, but I think it's too soon to say somebody's missed the boat. It's
in terms of being first, not in terms of being a great EV manufacturer. In terms of they could have been first because they already acquired a company that was doing that job.
Right.
And in some ways they didn't really capitalize on it, and the E2O etc. sort of dropped off the radar.
Right.
But the E-Verito became a taxi.
Right.
And now you have to invent a brand called what is it called? B.
B is their new all-electric brand, yeah.
Yeah, so the B will create the buzz, but you understand what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. I think weren't they the first movers? Great question. I really don't have an answer for that. I think that part of a company being acquired and integrated, and how that works internally. I think somewhere to that effect. And in that sense, I think if you look at what Mahindra's been doing with their ICE range, right, and for that we've seen huge strides being made there. I think somewhere their focus was there. Let's get the bread and butter fixed on that front, and then we attack this area as well. Interestingly, Tata Motors had gone a slightly different way. They set up so to say, a startup within the company, which was for electric mobility. And I think that in that sense, it paid huge dividends for them, because Shailesh Chandra, who used to head that unit, is now heading passenger cars, right? So he's the guy in the driving seat, and that very clearly says where the direction, intention, and focus is. Shumi is always like that. He's always kidding around and also dead serious. There's a lot more of that style of conversation on the main MotorInc channel, so head out and catch the full conversation.